y'all? It's your girl Ashley. I'll be balling with another I be balling basketball show. Today I'm gonna review the ESPN show called Full Court Press. It came on, in ESPN and ABC, and this is the second season. We're gonna talk about Flaujae and Kiki and Hannah, and I really like it because it's like a behind the scenes all access pass to, their seasons last year. And I think they should keep this going. There's so many, great players in college basketball that I think, you know, need to you need to hear their stories. But make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me who's your favorite amongst these three, and if you like the show Full Court Press. Because last year they had a lot of great players like Caitlin Clark. So they should keep it going. Maybe get, Lauren this year and her sister. We got so many, there's a lot of Gamecock players. There's UConn players, you know, Daisy Fudd and Sarah Strong. There's so many players, Madison Booker. So let's get into it. I'll start with Flaujae Johnson. Yeah, oh, if you know, you know. And I really do like her game because she plays both ends and, she's all about that defense. So I can definitely see her being like a, Kalia Hopper type player. But she also raps and, she doesn't cuss, she keeps it clean, but her lyrics and her flow is so tight. And so she's actually going to be a senior this year. But the season that they talked about was her junior year. And they talked a lot about, NIL deals that a lot of the, women players are getting now, like Powerade. And they was talking about her mom was in it too, talking about how she, is a momager, like manager. Um, and I really like all the hard work. They showed a lot of the LSU championship, and this year was all about Flage's leadership. But they also talked about how he's very passionate, like Kim Mulkey, right? And how she needed to balance school, and all the NILs and the rapping and the basketball. She knows how to balance it really well. And she said she's scared to take a break. But I do like that you get to know their families. You saw a little bit of her little brothers. She talked a lot about mental toughness and how she grew up playing with the boys. And they saw you saw the ups and the downs. You saw, how Flaujae, even though, LSU won the game, she was down on herself because she didn't play it well. And, the coach said, grow up. But I also liked a lot of the family events as well. But it definitely showed the injuries as well. Um, you know, Not playing in the SEC tournament, and she was like, how can I help my team if I'm not playing? Oh, and they talked about how the incident with, Camila Cardoza and Gamecocks, and how Cardoza pushed Flaujae that one game, remember? And the brother stepped in, he got ejected from the game, the arena. And afterwards, they played her dad's song, who passed away before she was born. He was a rapper too, called Camouflage. Um, and Also, she talked about the connection with her dad and how the connection was music, and how she's mad that, she doesn't have her dad around, but she's using music to carry the legacy, the name. And oh, there was a scene where I was like, man, she works hard. They definitely showed her in the studio, but they also showed how like her like apartment has her own type of studio. But something that I thought was, man, it showed so much worth ethic. She had just played in a game, and then right after the game, she had a rap performance that she went to, and she was cramping during the performance, like so that just shows how much of a hard worker she is, and she's dedicated to both crafts, basketball and rapping. People say you can't do both, but she's saying, don't put me in a box. I can do both, and I can do it at a top level. And they showed her when she was little. The the Kaje that I met was on the rap game. Jermaine Dupri had a lot of, young like young rappers, you know, similar to like how he got Crisscross and Little Bow Wow. He was looking for the next Kid Act. And Lotto was on the show too. Um, but they talked about America's Got Talent and how Simon Powell was like, you're gonna be a star. So she was also on that after the rap game. Um, so that was dope. They showed a lot of teams. They showed Lady Fouls and how she was in foul trouble. Um, they also showed how, she had an ankle injury and how she struggles but then recovers. So it shows how she, bounced back, bounced back, bounced back. They also showed how she's a businesswoman too. Um, and her mom keeps her grounded. Like she might want to do something, but she's like, nah, 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 you ain't doing that. We're not. I think Flaujae wanted to Aaron, um, what they call those things, Aaron B. And the mom was like, nah, I'm not letting you do that. So, she definitely still, she a kid, but she handles so many, she juggles so many, things. And it's like, that's dedication and, determination right there. But her mom still keep her in check, like, no, no, no. But, I really do like that. I hope she does well her senior year. And if you notice, her defense is great because she's always averaging a steal or two steals. And she averaged a block in her sophomore year, and she was almost close to a block, her junior year. And every year she improves. She averaged like 18 points, 38% from the three, and her numbers keep going up, up, up. And, so I think she might try to get that dub, that another championship before she leave because a lot of people was like, oh, should she go early in the draft? Because if you're 22, you can do that. But she was like, nah, she's staying. Let's go to Kiki Iriafen. I really do like her. If you guys watch the WNBA, she was balling, balling, balling with Citron, her other rookie teammate. She was balling for the Washington Mystics, fourth pick. She averaged like 13 and 8. And, they showed her getting drafted at the end. But this is about her, last year. They did talk about how, she played at Stanford, but then she transferred to USC. And, how the pressure is to win, 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 especially with Juju Watkins, right? And I hope she, has a good recovery. She's not going to play this season. But they showed, you know, Kiki and Juju a lot in their chemistry, on and off the court. But they also showed, oh, there was a game, USC versus UConn. That was great because Paige Beckers was in it. And, there was a lot of back and forth with the hoops, creating a bunch of buckets. That was awesome. But, oh, they started the season in Paris. So that was a good, scenery, start of it. But you got to know Kiki, and she's Nigerian. And she had a dope Nigerian outfit on at the draft. But she's Nigerian. And she was like, Nigerians, we always want to be the best in whatever we do, we want to be the best. And I like that attitude. and she's really smart too because there's a lot of talk about engineering, right? And grad school and master's program and all of that. Um, so they really care about education as well, just basketball or sports. But I also did like how they saw they we showed pretty much every player, struggle, how they bounced back, how they persevered. They might have had a bad game or two, and how they, took the L, but then they turned it into a dub. I really like that. And he talked a lot about the rankings and how, that's a lot of pressure too. But also talked about the chemistry and the struggles because she's new, she played at Stanford all those years, so now she's new. But I really did like Kiki and learning more about her family and her Nigerian heritage and culture. That was dope. And she averaged like 18 and 8 her last year. So that was dope. But last but not least, Hannah Hidalgo. I hope I pronounced all the names right. But she's like 5'6", and she's like hard over height, you know what I mean? She kind of reminds me of Muggsy Bogues because Muggsy Bogues, he was small, but he had that great attitude. Like you can't tell me nothing, you know. You know, she's small, but she plays big, and I like that. And she don't play like she's 5'6", and she's also another player that plays on both ends. She be averaging like 2, 3, 4 steals. You know, uh, um, her sophomore year, she averaged like 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and the assists is gonna go up because, as you guys may know, Olivia Miles, she transferred. Um, but also she be shooting threes too, 40% from three. So she pretty much can do it all, and catch fire real quickly. So they talked about the shortness, but they also talked about how she's a Christian and they showed her at church and how they showed her spirituality and, her faith and how that helps her in basketball and in life. And I thought that was cool because, not a lot of athletes talk about, that spiritual side. And we don't really get to hear those type of stories all the time. So that's pretty dope. And they also talked about the basketball family and how she was playing with the boys, even Flaujae playing with the boys, growing up with the boys. She growing up with her brothers, believing she can do whatever the boys do. But of course, they did talk about Olivia Miles and how there was like 2 point guards, two ball handlers, and their chemistry and their passing and the highlights and the electricity and energy that brought. And oh, they did show USC. You know, they showed her play USC, so I thought that was cool because Kiki and her on the same show. But they also talked about how she needs to be more vocal, right? She needs to be more vocal, especially this year because she's gonna be a junior. Yeah, that's gonna be a great year because if she already averaging 23, who knows? And I'm pretty sure she could be averaging like 7 assists, especially with Olivia Miles gone. But they talked about how she needs to be more vocal. Um, she like she kind of like lead by example, but she gotta talk more. But they also talked about how Hannah has to be, you know, away from basketball sometimes. Everything can't be basketball, basketball, basketball. You need a mental getaway. Um, but they also talk about the heritage and the culture of Puerto Rico and her granddad and you know, just the Spanish background that they talked about was cool. So the whole full court press is awesome because you get to learn more about them. You get to see their family and, their morals, their values, how hard they work. You get to be in the locker room, and, you get to be in the huddles. And that's what I like about this show. And also, they show this all the time with the guys. The guys have like a bunch of shows, right? They have like Hard Knock for football, and there's so many documentaries and TV shows for the men in their different sports. You don't see a lot of documentaries or movies about the women in their sports, and they need to, show that because they have stories too. They can inspire too, you know. And I really hope that there's another season, because I mean, both seasons were pretty good to me. And I feel like it always airs around May because, they usually film the current season. So, like, college basketball is going to start now. So, they're probably going to start filming now. But, like I said, there's plenty, you know, women college, ballers that they can pick from. And I really am excited, about women's basketball in the future. Like, huge WNBA fan. I like a lot of different players. I'm more so I'm a Gamecocks fan, but I'm also like individual player fan. Like Hidalgo, I like her. Flaujae, I like her. Uh, so I'm more like that. And of course, I like UConn. UCLA. I'm not like into the rivals. Like you can't like this team if you like that team. Like no, I don't do any of that. Yeah. First season was Caitlin Clark, Kiki Rice, and also Camila Cardozo. So I recapped that. So go look at that. Go look at that on my channel. And also tell me how you like, season two and which player is your favorite. So thanks for checking out my channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay ballin'. Peace.